Hello, everyone. Welcome to Boardwalk Talk. I'm your host, and tonight's episode is going to be for the people. Going to be for you folks out there that are struggling a little bit as we wind down with this pandemic BS. Throughout the course of the last year plus, we've had a lot of people lose their jobs, lose their house, lose their car, lose their family, and then they go into a depression. And what do a lot of people do when they get depressed? Well, they resort to ways to cope with depression. They go into drugs and alcohol, and who else knows what else you could do. But I have a guest on tonight, and he was very dependent on alcohol for many years, and he's been clean for 10 plus years now. And I wanted to bring him on, give you guys a little speech and give you guys a little bit of hope. And maybe you guys could find your way and get clean yourselves. So without further ado, Jason, how are you, sir?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself, bud?
Good. Loving life.
So I wanted to bring you on because a lot of people have lost a lot of stuff throughout this pandemic between suicide and drinking and drugs. A lot of people have lost a ton of stuff. Now, you have been fortunate that you got clean. And there's a lot of people out there that are struggling. I think that you might be able to help. And you do help. So you're an alcoholic, correct?
That is correct.
Now, how long did you spend drinking? How long were you drinking before you realized that there was an issue?
My first drink, was obviously in high school. Unlike a lot of alcoholics, they remember their first drink. They remember their first drunk or buzz. I don't. I remember, time period, and I like the feeling of it, obviously. But it wasn't what I was searching for. A lot of alcoholics say that, the first time that they drink, they're like, wow, this is the key to life right here, And I wasn't like that. I liked it, So I drank, periodically, for the next few years. 21 years old, I had my thing with the bar scene, and then up until I would say 29, 30 years old, I drank moderately. I could hang with the best. I didn't drink every night, and right around that time I got into the fire department here in Baltimore County, and we would always go out for shift parties and stuff, and I would do my thing. I was one to leave early a lot of the times, because I was somewhat responsible and not drinking and driving, but I still did. And it seemed like there was a period of time where my mom got really sick. She had 2 strokes back to back. And between that and when I finally got her into a nursing facility, then it was a money issue. So I think around that timeline is when my drinking really set off. When I noticed that there was something going on. I was drinking more than I should, drinking more than I wanted to, but I never considered myself an alcoholic. I just said, man, if I didn't have these issues, I wouldn't be drinking like this, because I didn't drink like this before. So when I, started having those issues, I was realizing like, wow, I know I'm drinking much more, but I don't want to face reality, and I don't want to, to think about all my problems. And what easier way to do that is to drink and to get a buzz, because you forget all your problems. And whether it be with drugs or alcohol, um, you know, we don't want to, we don't. There's different expressions.
Now, you weren't the type that got like blacked out drunk.
I have never been blacked out my whole drinking career. Now, I've had gray outs. There was periods of time in the night where I don't remember. Like, I woke up one morning and I saw a big crack in my big screen TV, and I'm like, how did that get there? Don't remember that. But I remember other parts of the night, and it's weird. So yeah, I never blacked out. I never drank during the day unless it was like a special trip, vacation or something. Once in a while I would do it, but I never drank during the daytime.
So then how does that make you an alcoholic?
So, and I'll get to this point, but it took some soul searching for me to realize that I was an alcoholic. So, what do you picture as an alcoholic? And I know that that you've done some 911 services, and what do you think is your typical alcoholic?
I guess what I figure is the alcoholic is somebody who pretty much just drinks all the time. They need to drink. That every time you see them, they have some type of beer or alcoholic beverage in their hand.
Yeah, it's what we take to the hospital. It's that bum with the brown bag, and that's homeless, and even if they're not homeless, you go to their house and their house is in shambles, and you're picking them up at 11 o'clock in the morning because they're almost passed out, and they're getting in the fight with their significant other or something. They don't have a job. They lose things. And I didn't have any of that. I had a $315,000 house that I signed in my own name, without any co-signers. I had drove around in a $50,000 truck. I worked for the fire department. I'd go to work every single day. I never lost anything. I didn't even really lose friendships. So, just to tell you a real quick story, and this is how everything started. So, towards the end, I was drinking when I didn't want to drink. And I didn't drink a lot. I drank a lot, but not like crazy amounts, but just enough to where I don't have to feel. And that's what I wanted, not to feel. So, most of the time I drank home alone by myself towards the end. I was a bar drinker, went out and saw bands and everything in the past, but towards the end I was drinking alone. So one night a friend of mine asked me to go come see his band, and the place was 2 miles away. I was like, all right, whatever. So I pre-gamed, I drank a couple beers and a couple shots before I left the house. That way I could save money, and I went to the place and saw a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time. And we were watching the band, and we're buying each other shots and beers and everything. And a couple hours later, I was like, whoo, I got a nice little buzz. I got to get out of here. And I told him, I said, all right, buddy, I got to get out of here. He said, man, I just bought you a shot. And this thing was huge. And I said, well, you know what? I'm only, 2 miles away. I said, all right, I'll drink it real quick. And I go to drink it and leave there. Now, I've been pulled over by the cops many a times, and being in the fire department, I kind of felt invincible because I know all the cops and everything. And excuse me, I just had a phone call. I had to stop. I've been pulled over many a times, and I I've always gotten off because I always knew the cop. They're either, hey, here's your license back, drive safe. I'm going to follow you home. The one time I had him, tell me to park it in the parking lot and call a friend. And it would scare me for a little bit, and I wouldn't drink and drive for a couple of weeks, and then it'd be all over again. So I'm almost home. I'm literally approaching the intersection, and the red and blue lights come on behind me. And I was like, all right, well, I actually work in the same area that I live in, so I knew all the cops. And the cop comes up to me, and I look up, and it's a state trooper. And I didn't know any state troopers at that time. So he asked me where I was going, and I said home. I live 2 streets down. He said, "Oh, I see you're in the fire department." I was like, "Yes, sir, I am." And he said, "Have you been drinking?" "Yes, sir." "How much?" "I've probably had too much, sir." He's like, "Oh, okay. Well, thanks for being honest." And I said, "Yeah, no problem." And he said, "Why don't you step outside of the car for a minute?" I'm like, "Well, that's odd. Why would he do that?" And he had me do the sobriety test, which I thought I did a good job. So he said, "Put your hands behind your back." And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I told you I'm in the fire department, right? I only live 2 streets down from where we're at right now. I could walk home in less than 5 minutes. And he said, "Sir, if I have to tell you one more time, put your hands behind your back." And I got arrested that night. So I get out about an hour or two later, call a friend. Next day, I got to call the chief of the fire department and tell him what happened. So I did. He comes over the house about an hour later and strips me of my badges and says, "You're suspended without pay, and there's a chance of termination." And had a union meeting, and they said, "You're going to go to a 28-day rehab, or you're going to retire early at 8 years." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to retire. I want my job. So I'm going to go to this 28-day rehab." And I'm like, "But rehabs are for like crack smokers and like alcoholics. I'm not even an alcoholic." I didn't think I was. But I went. So in those 28 days, I learned a lot about myself, a lot about the disease of addiction and alcoholism. And I left there still thinking that I wasn't an alcoholic. So they said, "You got to do AA, and you got to do 90 days, 90 meetings in 90 days. And I'm like, ooh, and I was like, that sucks. But you know what? I want 90 signatures, for my court case, because I didn't want to get in trouble. So I went. So here we go. I'm listening to all these stories of people up there, and they're talking 4, 5, 6, 7 DUIs, drinking a fifth or up to a gallon a day of liquor, homelessness, losing job after job, just like the stories were something out of a movie. And I'm sitting there kind of like, that's not me. That's not me. That is definitely not me. And, again, I take alcoholics to the hospital. I know what they look like, and I wouldn't even consider myself a functioning alcoholic. I was just too good for that. So I didn't want to be like those people in there. So one night I'm listening. I forgot who it was, when it was. It was somewhere within those 90 days. And for some reason, I was paying a little bit more attention than I usually was. And someone just started talking about the pain that they felt, the pain, the loneliness, the despair, the hole in the soul, the impending doom feeling, I don't feel like waking up in the morning. And I related to that. And I was like, wow. Because I just wanted the pain to go away. When I go to work or we go out, you see me, man. I'm the life of the party. I'm smiling. I'm man. We're friends, and you know me. I always have a smile on my face, and I even did back then. But as soon as I got home, that's when it was cut off. I wanted to show you that I was fine, but I wasn't. I was hurting. I didn't care if I woke up the next morning. I didn't want to kill myself because I know a lot of people don't do it right, and I probably wouldn't do it right and live through it. But I prayed to God that I didn't want to wake up in the morning. So I hear this person talk about all that pain and loneliness. And I was like, whew, yeah, I can relate to that. So for that meeting on, no matter what the story was, however action-packed it was, I hear the pain. And I never heard that before. And it just clicked in. And before the end of that 90 days, I went home one day and I was thinking about things and I said, shit, I'm an alcoholic. This sucks. I don't want to be an alcoholic because, there's a big stigma behind alcoholism. We all know someone who's an alcoholic, just someone, a friend, a family member, someone. And unlike any disease out there, whether, it would be cancer, MS, Down syndrome, just any type of disease or condition, we feel sorry for people, like, man, diabetes, whatever, man, that sucks. Does anybody ever have any compassion for an alcoholic? Not really, because usually they're just ripping and roaring and they're just going through all their friends and family. Like nobody wants to, associate with them because of the way they handle themselves, especially when they're drinking. So I found out that drinking is only a symptom of alcoholism. So we drink and drug because of the way we think and feel. And we think and feel different from other people. We have a brain that won't shut off, that's constantly thinking about that gloom and doom and that loneliness and that, man, nothing's going to go right. And the only way we can shut it down is with drugs or alcohol. And in my case, alcohol. And whether I was born with alcoholism and it got me later or I developed it, I don't know, but I know right now I'm not a normal drinker. I can't just have one or two. There is no such thing. I'm built for speed. I want effect. The only reason why I would want to drink is for effect. Why would you have one beer? Why would you?
So you said you had mentioned the doom and gloom.
Yeah.
What was yours?
It was just just life in general. It was just life in general. Just looking at the worst case scenario. Just not feeling comfortable. What we say, we don't feel comfortable in our own skin. A lot of alcoholics say when they were younger and going through middle school, high school, they never felt good enough. They never felt smart enough. They never felt good looking enough. They never felt, like they could dance that good or whatever the case may be. But as soon as they drank alcohol, all that went away. They're the life of the party. They can ask that girl or guy out. They can dance, even though they might not be able to dance, but they think they can dance. They can sing, whatever the case may be. They talk about, beer muscles, they'll mess with the biggest guy in the room and think, at 140 pounds, they're going to beat up a 250 pound MMA fighter or something, it's just takes you out of yourself. And, I felt okay in my own skin when I was younger, but at the end, I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. I wanted you to think that I was, but I wasn't.
And you obviously at that point you had no choice to get clean if you wanted to keep your job.
Yes.
Now, was that the only reason you decided to get clean? Because most people would just say, "The hell with the job.
Yeah.
I'll go find something else."
And yeah. And most people would. I just had a fear of, because I was making good money. I had one of the best jobs in the world, so that was at least 75% of why, I mean, hey, I could probably save a lot of money. Probably spent $100 a week on alcohol, so yeah, that was the biggest reason. So when I first started in AA, now when we and we being, non-alcoholics, you look at, if you picture an AA meeting, what do you picture? You see it on TV. There's about 10 chairs in a circle. They're in a gymnasium or a dark place, and everybody's looking down like they don't want to be there. And the host is like, hey, John, why don't you speak? Well, I have 25 days sober, and man, it's just been rough, this and that, and they're like, okay, well, it will get better. Thanks for coming. Keep coming back, and it just looks, they just have this persona of this AA meeting that it just almost looks like the next best thing to prison, like you're sentenced to AA. And there's a stigma behind AA, like AA, that's for quitters. You hear the joke, you're an alcoholic. No, alcoholics go to meetings, and there's like, some fun behind that. And when I started going to these meetings, I mean, they were laughing and carrying on and having a good time. I thought they were drinking. I was like, well, maybe they're just teaching you how to drink normally or something, because they were off the hook. And they're just the friendliest, most nicest, most genuine people you will ever meet. So my sobriety date is February 1st of 2011. That was the first day I walked into to the 28-day rehab, and I have not had a drink since. Let me tell you, in the beginning of AA, I was like, yeah, this is cool. And I mean, it's helping me. I think a couple weeks into it, I just didn't have the urge or the want to drink anymore, the physical urge. I still thought about it, but as time went on, I felt stronger. Now, I did have the attitude the first year or two that, you know what, I'll do this for a few more years, just get a good amount of time behind my belt. And I won't have to go to these meetings forever. And, who would want to do that? Even if it's just an hour a night. And I noticed there was a time when I went like almost 2 weeks without a meeting. And I felt like I was literally going crazy. My wife at the time was like, dude, you need to go to a meeting because you're getting on my freaking nerves. You're acting like an asshole. And that's what it is. We're just a dry drunk. So these days, like I have coworkers that's, I haven't worked with in a while. We're on the medic, and they're like, hey, do you still go to those AA meetings? And I was like, yeah, I go to one almost every night. And they're like, really? Do you have to do that to stay sober? And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I could probably stay sober for a long time, maybe forever if I never went to a meeting again. But there's a spiritual factor of it. And it's also for me to help another alcoholic out. It's for me to be there for the newcomer, because when I went there, when I was just a month sober, 2 months or whatever, there was people with 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years that were there. So if they weren't there, if they just did it for a couple of years and said, nah, I'm cured, and then they leave, there wouldn't be any AA. So, I go for the spiritual factor. I've never, in the 10 years, I've never walked into a meeting in a worse mood, coming out of the meeting in a worse mood. Always a better mood. Even if I'm a little, irritated by something in life or whatever. I went in there, kind of, moody, pissed off or whatever. And I come out of there in a good mood every single time, 100% of the time. Life, it's funny because they would have meetings that come in they would bring a meeting into our 28-day rehab, and I would hear these people say, when you do this program and you work these 12 steps, you're going to have the life beyond your wildest dreams. I'm like, oh God, please. I'm like, that sounds so stupid. I mean, I'm waiting for like unicorns and fairy dust and everything. And it's just like magical moment, you know. I was like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And God damn it, I have the life beyond my wildest dreams. Even when life is bad, it's still good. You know, even when life punches you in the gut, you don't have to go down. You take those punches in life, because life is going to happen no matter what. But I don't have to drink, you know, because of it. You know, I just had a situation happened. You know, me and my wife are separated now, and you know, it hurts. It sucks. You know, and I don't have to drink over it. And I'm so spiritual. I always talk about spiritual fitness, and I'll get into the God thing because that might freak a lot of people out. So the spiritual fitness, the more spiritual you are, the better you're going to handle life. And I talk about spiritual fitness, going to meetings, you know, talking to your sponsor, going through the 12 steps, helping other people out. This is all part of this program. And the spiritual fitness, when I came in, I looked like Urkel. You know, I'm scale, you know, like frail and skinny, and like I have no spirituality whatsoever. I don't believe in anything. I don't care about anything. So, you know, obviously you're fragile. Today, I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. So when life happens and punches me in the gut, I stand up and I don't go down. So now one of the biggest things they talk about is God, you know, and it says God a lot. So a lot of people are freaked out going into AA because either they had some type of background in religion or they never did, never believed in God. And they're just like, whoa. I was an agnostic, which is not atheist, but I knew something was out there, but he wasn't doing me any favors. Look where he put me, you know. They talk about God being a higher power of your choosing. So it doesn't have to be Jesus Christ, Allah, Buddha, you know, any of those religious types. So religion, I look at, is for people who don't want to go to hell. Spirituality is for people who have been to hell. So I don't know who my God is, what it is. I have no idea, but I know it's working in my life. It's a higher power. It's something bigger than me. If I take this magazine and I let it go, it's going to drop 100% of the time because it's the power of gravity. It works. So there's a power out there that's bigger than me. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. That helps me when I pray to him or it or her, whatever, good things happen in my life. I'm not gonna question it. So when I wake up in the morning, I say, God, and in the beginning, when you first come in, you can use God as group of drunks. You know, your higher power could be all the people that have more time in sobriety than you, which I still use, you know. Good orderly direction, gift of desperation, you know. So there's different terminologies for it. So when I wake up in the morning, I say, God, please keep me away from a drink, a drug, and a cigarette today. Let me do your will, not mine, because look where I got myself in life when I do everything on my terms and my thoughts. Take away my shortcomings and character defects, because that's what makes up an alcoholic. And boy, do I have some character defects, you know, that I still work on. And let me help as many people as I can today. And if I start off with that prayer and I end my day, thank you, no matter what it is, good, bad, or indifferent, I have a pretty good day. I've never had a bad day in sobriety. Never. Not one bad day. Now, I've had bad moments where I'm all up in my head and I'm feeling sorry for myself, or I'm pissed off at somebody or something. And then, I ask God, my higher power to remove that, and it's gone, and I feel better. Or I talk to somebody in the program. One of my favorite things in the big book, which is the AA book, you can get it off of Amazon. You can go to a meeting or whatever. This is our Bible, even though it's not a Bible and it does say God in here, but it's a God of your choosing. So one of my favorite things in here, and anybody, whether you're an alcoholic or not, can relate to this, other than just the part that a sentence or two that says about alcoholism. So whenever you're having a bad day, bad moment, I have a little card and I keep this in my wallet, and I read it almost every day. So it's only one paragraph long. So here it is. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation is exactly the way it's supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes. And that's the thing. It's all on how you interpret something. It's all on how you accept something. Acceptance is the key. So no matter what situation happens in your life, I could have a shit fit on something, or I could say, you know what? Okay, all right. There's something behind this,
Now, where do you go? Is there anything for, like, let's say somebody having a problem?
Okay, so if you do have a problem with alcohol, you can go onto the AA website. Just like for me, there's I live in Baltimore County. You go onto the Baltimore County AA site. It has phone numbers that you could talk to people. There's a list of meetings. There are tons of meetings every single day, all day. And all evening. So they start at, some of them at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and some of them start at like 8, 9, 10 o'clock on weekends, sometimes midnight meetings.
Are there any like national hotlines?
There's all kinds of stuff out there. So there's AA, and then obviously NA for Narcotics Anonymous. There is something also for people who are with loved ones who have alcoholism and they don't want to get help. There's something for that significant other or family member called Al-Anon. Al-Anon is meetings for the people who suffer with the person with alcoholism. And then there's Nar-Anon, which is for narcotics. So there are meetings everywhere, all over the world. If I went on a trip to Spain, to Germany, wherever I go, there are meetings everywhere. There's millions and millions and millions of people that are recovering.
Are they open to, let's say if I wanted to walk into one, would I be able to just walk in?
95% of the meetings, it will say open meeting. Well, the only requirement for AA is a desire to stop drinking, is a desire. So you can go to any meeting you want. There are special meetings, maybe women's meetings or gay or black. There are segregated meetings out there for people maybe who do feel too alone and they don't want to get out there. Maybe they'll feel more comfortable in a gay meeting or something. But it doesn't matter. And the cool thing is, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're black, white, Asian, male, female, both. I mean, it really doesn't matter who you are. You come walking through that door and we're going to love you. until you can love yourself. And it's amazing to see people that are two totally opposite different people, whether you just look at them, I know people like a big burly biker dude sponsoring a little African guy, and they're best friends, normally people that wouldn't hang out and drink together, and now they're best friends and they're coming together. The world needs to learn off of what we do in AA, because it doesn't matter who we are, who you are, we treat everybody the same. We're all in this together. We all have a common problem that we need to solve. And you will find the best friends ever in Alcoholics Anonymous. So now, in their traditions, one of the thing is, attraction rather than promotion. So I don't want to say that I'm promoting AA, but I'm kind of promoting it, because if someone doesn't know about it or they don't hear, okay, so it isn't like the 10 chairs and around in a circle in a dark gymnasium, and there is a lot of happy people there. Maybe I might want to go now, or so I promote my sobriety. That's what I do. Like, I'm on Facebook. That's the only social media platform that I'm on. If you want to write my name and on there, they can connect to me in Facebook. You can even put my telephone number there if they want to, text or call me, and I can point them in the right direction, especially if you're in the Maryland, Baltimore metro area. People that are listening that don't know where I am, I'm in Perry Hall, Maryland, which is about 10 minutes above Baltimore City. But I always put it out there, and I'm blessed to do what I do in the fire department, because I'm not a firefighter. I'm on the medic 100% of the time, and I'm in a neighborhood where there's a lot of drugs and alcohol, and I've helped some people, some of my patients. They've come to meetings, and I got a couple of them right now that currently have 5 and 6 months sobriety. And one person I picked up all the time, and he is sober. And to see him going from where he was to where he is an absolute miracle. And I'm blessed to be able to give back. And when I retire in the fire department, which most likely will be about 7.5 years from now, I'm going to be a peer recovery counselor, and I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing now, but just get paid for it because I do it for free. I do everything here on my own time, but I'm here to help someone else out there. And what you were saying in the beginning with the pandemic and just all this divide that's going on in the US, and just a lot of miserable stuff. There isn't that many good things to look forward to nowadays, and people don't know how to handle their problems. And I tell people in AA, there's going to be an influx of people coming in here in the next few years, because we're lucky. I'm the lucky one. I am lucky to be an alcoholic because I have this program. Step 1 is the only step that actually has to do with alcohol and or drugs, sex, gambling. You put whatever you're addicted to in step 1. Step 2 through 12 is living a better life. Basically, it's trusting in a higher power, cleaning house, the wreckage of your past, getting rid of all those things that you felt sorry for and resentments, and then helping other people. When I help other people, it gets me away from me. I don't have to think about myself. And as a alcoholic and an addict, we're self-centered. It's a self-centered disease. If you think about it, everything's about them. They don't care about anything. They don't care about their significant other, their kids. They'll do anything for that next drink or drug. And that's what it is. It's a self-centered disease.
Well, that's pretty wild. That is definitely, it makes you wonder how many alcoholics are actually out there that just don't, that just don't recognize that they have
Or-
an issue until
or-
it's
Yeah, or they recognize it and they just don't want help. I always say, if you don't have any consequences being something as little as a relationship breakup or getting a DUI, going to jail, losing your house, losing your car license, or you will either die or at the very least go to jail or an institution. One of the things that kind of that I looked at and that first kind of made me think a little bit about like what this disease was. And here's another paragraph that kind of just tells a little bit how I thought. Most of us has been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it is not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. That idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it to the gates of insanity or death. And that's what it is. We don't want to say that we're alcoholics. Now, some people, like I said, they're like, oh, yeah, I'm an alcoholic, but my life's not unmanageable, So, maybe if, all right, I'm drinking beers and whiskey. All right, I'm just going to cut out the whiskey and I'm only going to drink beer. All right, well, that's not working. I'm still getting effed up all the time. All right, I'm only going to drink on weekends now. All right, I'm just going to be a weekend warrior. Well, that might last for a couple weeks and then you're back to, normal. This is a progressive disease. So when you stop drinking, your disease is still progressive in your body. So these 10 years that I've been sober, my disease still wants me dead. It's doing push-ups out in the parking lot waiting for me. So that one moment where I might say F it and go drink, when I drink, if I were to drink tonight, it might be okay for a couple days or maybe even a couple of weeks, but I will have 10 more years of experience in my body drinking. So it's not even going to be where I left off, how bad I was when I left off. It's going to be as if I were to keep drinking those 10 years. So it always gets worse, never better. When I see people go out and they relapse and they come back, whether it be a few days, few weeks, a few years, no one has ever come back and be like, man, that was awesome. Man, it was, I controlled it so much better when I went out there. No, it gets bad. It gets really bad.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're clean. I'm glad to see that you're staying clean.
And sober.
Yeah. What I'd like to do is I'd like to catch up with you on another show, maybe a little bit later on. Maybe put you and an NA guy side by side and see if there's any comparisons or, any differences between the classes or anything like that. But what I will do is before I let you go, I'm going to put your Facebook on a link, and that way anybody who has any issues, they can get in contact with you and they know that there's somebody there for them.
And maybe send me with a friend request, send me a private message also, because you know how we get all these spams, like friend requests, you're like, who is this person? And you don't have any mutual friends, or they're only they're in a different country, or whatever. So I want to make sure it's legit. So just also private message me, and then that way I can connect the two. And I always check my spam folders for messages just in case they don't come up.
Awesome. All right, buddy. Well, it was great talking to you. I will definitely give you a call a little bit later on and check up on you.
All righty.
I'm going to be going out to eat here.
Yeah, for everyone out there, stay safe. And if you think you might have a problem. You probably do, and you should probably reach out to somebody.
Awesome.
All
brother.
righty.
You have a good night.
Yeah, man. You too.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
All right, folks. That was Jason. Don't forget, next week, I have Troy Grove joining me. And we're going to see if we can get a little bit of music on with him, too. All right, folks. Everybody stay healthy. Stay safe.